Audio Jungle.
Hello students, welcome to another session of Master Mains PYQ. Today we will starting with history. It's important in GS1 part. When we go through the Mains PYQs, we can see that history, the weightage of history has been constant across a few years. Okay, like we always get 3 questions of 10 marks and 3 questions of 15 marks. So that adds up to 30, 45, 75 marks. Okay, but you will have to see that the weightage of history, the importance of history is not limited to these 75 marks. Okay, because the knowledge of history comes in handy in other subjects as well. Like when you go study society, okay, when you study topics like religion or caste system, okay, the history knowledge of history will provide you context in that. Okay, when you study IR, international relations, the knowledge of world history will provide you a background of what was happening. Okay, in ethics it will provide you a number of examples. Okay, and in essay paper you can write a separate dimension, historical dimension, wherein you can fill up a couple of pages with your knowledge of history. So we see the knowledge of history comes helpful, comes useful in a number of other subjects as well. Okay, so here we see for our context in the for UPSC mains, okay, history has been divided into 4 parts. Okay, we have modern history, we have world history, we have post independence, we have culture part. The culture part is quite vast because it includes the ancient history and medieval history. Okay, so a good approach to studying history in general and culture specifically is the spare approach, wherein you divide a particular timeline. Okay, you go chronologically, and for a particular timeline, for say Gupta dynasty, for say Mauryan dynasty, you make notes dividing them into 5 dimensions, 5 domains. Okay, like when you make notes of Gupta empire, what was happening in Gupta empire in say social circles, social life, what was happening in Gupta times in political systems, what kind of political systems they had, what were the contributions in art and culture, what was happening in the religious side, and how was their economy. Okay, this format of making notes, preparing notes is important because UPSC has asked domain wise and timeline specific notes question. Like in 2022 it asked question on the contribution of Guptas and Cholas in art and culture. So if you have notes of empire specific and timeline specific, okay, you will be able to address those questions very well. Okay, now coming to the question, today's question is, what are the main features of Vedic society and religion? Do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society? It's always a good practice to read the question twice so that you you get a good context, good idea of the question. Okay, and reading it twice gives you time to frame the answers in your mind. Okay, so here here for the question, first you have to go through what are the keywords here. The keywords are what and do you think. So in the first part of the question you have to talk about what were the specific features. Okay, and in the second part you have to talk about do you think. When you say when they ask do you think, you have to put both views, the for view and the counter view. Like if the question is asking you do you think some of the features are still prevailing in Indian society, okay, you have to first see which other features are prevailing and you have to counter it by saying which other features are not prevailing. Okay, so we come to the question. When you come to the introduction, a decent introduction in history is the timeline. Okay, you can talk about the timeline. Okay, it will give the evaluator the idea that you know exactly what you're talking about and you are going to address the particular question. Okay, here for example the timeline here, Vedic society's timeline would be 1500 BC to 600 BC. Okay, it can further be split into 1500 to 1000 and 1000 to 600. But it is not useful, it is not important in this question, because the UPSC has, in this question, the UPSC has not split the Vedic period into later and early. Okay, so one approach is a timeline approach, and second approach, you can talk about Vedas, etymology, like the Vedic society. Why was the time period, that particular time was called Vedic period? Okay, so you can talk about how Vedas were the foundational documents for social, political, economic life of that time. Okay, so this will give you a decent introduction. Okay. Next we come to the body part. Okay. Here in the body part, the question asks about Vedic society and Vedic religion. Okay, Vedic society and Vedic religion. In this discussion, we will go through them separately. Okay, like 4-5 points of Vedic society and then 4.5 points of Vedic religion. Okay, but in the exam, you can club them as well. Okay, so Vedic society. When we come to the Vedic society, the most important feature that existed there was the Varna system. Okay, the Varna system, which said the society was divided into 4 parts: Brahmans, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. Okay, Varna system was important feature. And then there's ashram system. Okay, ashram system, it's also called Chaturvarna ashram system because there were 4 ashrams. Okay, 4 ashrams. There was brahmacharya. Okay, there was grihasth, vanprastha, and sannyas. Okay, then the Vedic society was tribal, was at the cusp of urbanization, but they were not urban as of now. So that society was tribal and agrarian. Okay, next feature of society was that it had developed patriarchy. Okay, so when you see study Vedic society in the early Vedic phase, okay, they had concepts of sabha and samiti. What happened there was that people, the citizens, the people of the society would gather around to make decisions, to choose their leaders. But later we see in later Vedic times, okay, the participation of women in these sabhas and samitis started to decline. Okay, so earlier the women played a equally important role. Okay, like women like Lopamudra and Usha were even had even composed hymns for Rigveda. But later the participation of women in even the social structures like Sabha and Samiti came down. Okay, when we come to the Vedic religion, we can say it was polytheistic. Polytheistic means worshipping a number of gods. Okay, there were gods like Indra, Soma. Okay, then we see there it was nature worship. Nature worship was popularized. Nature worship because the gods were mostly derived from natural forces. Like there was Indra, there was Agni. Okay, there was Surya. Okay, so the natural forces were prayed to. Okay, then we see it was ritualistic. The Vedic religion was very ritualistic because we had the concept of 16 sanskars. 16 sanskars. It said that in a life a person should perform 16 rituals. Okay, it started from conception, conceiving of a child to their death. Okay, so there were 16 sanskars which were performed per person in their life. Okay, so we see how ritualistic the society, the religion had become. Okay, then we see the dominance of priests. Dominance of priests. It's natural because when you have a number of rituals, who will be performing rituals? Okay, so it will be performed by priests. You have to call upon priests. They will come down for exchange. In exchange of a fee, they would be performing those rituals for you. Okay. Okay. Then we have Vedas. as sacred text. Vedas were the foundational religious document of that time. Okay, so we see some points of Vedic society, some points of Vedic religion. Okay, so in the next part of the question, ask about what are the features which are prevailing and what are the features which are not prevailing. In the next part, we see which features are still prevailing and which features are not prevailing. So, something which we can see around is the institution of family. Okay. Yes, there has been a shift from the joint family model to a nuclear family model, but that is more because of the demand of the economy. Okay, because the agrarian society, agrarian economy can support a joint family, but a developed economy like ourselves or in the West, that cannot sustain a joint family. So everyone is moving towards nuclear family, but the idea of family still remains. Then there is idea institution of marriage. Okay, marriage is still a very important social concept in India. Okay, though the importance of it has come down drastically in the West. Okay, the West is more of a sometimes it's like a formality. Okay, marriage is not required of people. Okay, they can live their lives together even without a stamp of approval of marriage. But in India, the institution of marriage is very much alive and kicking. Okay. Then we see polytheism. Polytheism. How? Because even now we worship a number of deities. Okay. In Hinduism, we say we have like 33 crores devis and devtas, 33 crores deities. So it's an indication of our continued approval, acceptance of idea of polytheism. Okay. Next, we see there is idea of nature worship. Nature worship. We still worship the banyan tree, the peepal tree. Okay, so this shows how the idea of nature worship is still not lost on us. Then we see patriarchy, the good old patriarchy. Okay, it has been surviving since a couple of millennia at least. Okay, and Indian society is no different. Now, this idea has sustained. Okay, still the women are fighting for equality in social systems, and we are trying to provide. The societies evolved. Like earlier, they were just justified. They were relegated as a second-class citizens. Okay, but now we have accepted and given them the right to equality. Okay, how that will work in practice? Okay, on paper we have given them the right to equality, but in real life and many social systems, social cultures, they have not been able to get parity. But we are striving hard in that direction. Okay. Next, we see some features which are not prevailing. Okay. So first thing is the caste system or the Varna system. Varna system, which started in the Rigvedic times, okay, got very solidified in later Vedic age, and later because of some corruption. Okay, like the Varna was based on birth. Oh, Varna was based on occupation. Whatever your occupation is, that is your Varna. But later it became to be an ascribed thing than an achieved thing. Like someone in earlier times, a son of a Brahman can become a Vaishya or a Kshatriya as well. Okay, but later times their life journey, okay, their social position got defined only by birth. So the caste system, the idea of social mobility, which was very prevalent and active in Vedic times, got crystallized. Okay, the idea of social mobility got eliminated in the caste system. Okay. Next, we see ashram system. Ashram system. We don't see the ashram system as of now, any kind. Yes, there is a general acceptance of the age of education till like 25, and then people should get married. But the later phases, the vanprasth and the sannyas phase, is no one is talking about. Okay, that's in the vogue. That's not currently followed in any way. Okay, then we have the importance of Vedas. The importance of Vedas. We can see that the Vedas, which served as a foundational document for social religious life in the Vedic period, is just relegated to a idea, a book in the library. Okay, no one even knows what is actually written in the Vedas. Okay, so yes, people who study in history know like what is written in Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, but people don't know the essence of the Vedas. They have stopped reading it because the knowledge of Vedas has stopped giving them the benefit. Earlier, what happened, that the number of Vedas you knew, okay, defined your status in society. Okay, you have the concepts of like Dvivedi, Chaturvedi, Trivedi. This was like people who knew two Vedas, who have read two Vedas were Dvivedis. Master of three Vedas was called Trivedis. Okay, but later, because of an advanced society, okay, the number of Vedas does not define your social position. Okay, then we see Sanskrit. Okay, Sanskrit used to be the most important language of that time, the language in which the information, the knowledge used to be shared. But now, as we see, Sanskrit is surviving only in pockets. Yes, the central government is promoting it. Okay, even the CBSE teaches it in schools as a third language, but its acceptance and use is very limited. Okay, next we see the ritualistic part of the religion. Okay, now the 16 sanskaras are only on paper. No one, no, even the most devout of Brahmins would not be following the 16 sanskaras. Okay, this is mostly because of the changing nature of the society and economy. No one has time for those many things. Okay, so they do just the basic things. Out of 16, I believe they do 3-4 sanskaras and be done with it. Okay, so we see the features which were prevailing in society and some which are not prevailing in society. Okay, next we come to the conclusion. So for conclusion, a good idea for the history answer to conclude is try to relate it, connect to something contemporary. Okay, but for this question, the UPSC is already asking you to do that, because we have in the second part of the body we saw which are the features are prevailing and which are not prevailing. Okay, so that part is taken care of. Okay, so here a good idea would be to see how the importance of Vedas in society is. Okay, we are a civilization, a older civilization. Okay, we are civilization values has been continuing not from the Vedic times, but some features can be seen from the Indus Valley times. Okay, so from 2500 2500 BC. Okay, so we are like a 4000 years old civilization. Okay, so while it was even in the Indus Valley period, we were not alone. There were other civilizations like Egyptians, Sumerian, Mesopotamians, but all those were wiped out. You won't see the features of that society in the contemporary times, but we have managed to keep some of them. Okay, so that's a good thing. Okay, it should be credited. Okay, it should be appraised. It should be praised that we were able to keep the ideas of that time. Okay, so and here in conclusion you can say yes, the ideas, some of the features are still can be still be seen in this society, but the idea, the Vedic wisdom, okay, we should try to bring in the Vedic wisdom. Okay, like Vedic wisdom, like nature worship. This is very important because of the issues of like climate change and all. Okay, and then equal importance to women issues. Okay, so if we can bring in these kind of things, okay, it yeah, these are things which we can learn from the Vedic society. Okay, so this is the end of discussion for this question. We'll see you with another question. Thank you.